Right, so welcome back to a new device on this channel, and on this occasion is going to be the Delay Plus, from Bitwig, of course. So I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm using the default patch we have right here with the polysynth. It's a very dull sound. So as soon as I turn it on, you have different settings, and this is, what we are going to be discussing. So right here, you have your mode. So we have mono, stereo, and ping pong. So I'm going to start with the mono one because they are all a little bit different. And the first thing we need to discuss is going to be the times, how this is going to be working in terms of times, because it's a delay. By default, you're going to be standing in units. So it's going to be 16s right here, and then you are going to need to decide where, how your repetitions are going to go. You're going to go faster or you're going to go slow. Now, if I go to the other ones are pretty much the same idea, but you have different units. This one's going to be 8s, and, the times are just going to be different. And then you have the 4th. Then again, the times are just different. Just different timing. Now, still, you're not tied just to do this. You can go and use the good old milliseconds. And you can go really crazy. You can go up to 5 seconds, which is, a lot. With any given delay, you have the feedback. So this is going to be your feedback. And I believe I don't need to explain this. This is pretty self-explanatory at this point. With any delay, you go up on the feedbacks, you get more repetitions. And as soon as you cross over, you go over this line, it's going to start, going crazy. There's a non-stop feedback. And if I go all the way up, at some point, they're going to need to go down. There we go. Okay, so that's the feedback. I know these are just pretty common standard controls. Now let's talk about the other things. So when you're standing right here, you can not avoid to look at the bottom right here at the bottom. So you have two main sections. Now the main one, which is going to be something that will repeat on all the other different types, is going to be the detune. So this one, what we will do, it will separate the left from the right, giving you a more stereo width. So if I split this up, if I turn it on and I start splitting, now the left and the right repetitions are going to be offsetted from the left, and the right. So when I play it, we hear that this, we have a white stereo spread. Let me just do something like that. There you go. So it's pretty cool. Now you have 20 milliseconds. So as you go up on the repetitions, when the repetitions evolve, they're going to start kind of separating. That is that they are just separating as soon as we get to the end. Let me do it again. Yeah, they start very close and then they start to separate. Now 20 milliseconds, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe you want to do a little bit less. Now you can go into negatives and maybe you're wondering what is the difference. So if I go to positives and I play something, that is that let me go slower. That is that, the repetitions first is going to appear in the left, and then it's going to go to the right. So this is the difference. If you go into negatives right here, first it's going to be left, then it's going to be right, positive, sorry. And if you go the other way, it's going to be first in the right, and then in the left. Now, then you have this one. This, if you click here, you're going to go into triplets. And if you go right there, it's going to be dotted. But still, you can move this around and offset the timings. So you're just not tied to be right there in the pocket, right there on the time, right there. If you want to go back to the beginning, we click right there and, we are good to go. Now, all of this is just very simple, but still, since this is a video about this, I need to explain it. Now, the time right here, the milliseconds, you don't have this, which is fine and understandable. All the other different modes, they do have this, the offset. And then at the bottom, so we can cover this and get it out of the way, you have an EQ. So this EQ will chop the low frequencies and the high frequencies of the repetitions. It will not chop the incoming signal. It's going to chop the outcoming signal. So if I remove all the lows, the repetitions are very thin, right? We just get the highs because I'm just chopping all the lows. And same thing the other way. If I chop all this, we get the lows and not the highs. So let me go back to the default, and we are going to be talking a little bit more about the modes we have right here. By default, you stand on stereo, but if we go to mono, when we offset this, the left and the right, and let me do something like that, and I play something, we can hear that this is stereo. So what's the point if we are in mono? So the signal, of course, is going to be mono. We are splitting the left from the right. Now on mono mode, if you don't split it, it's just going to be mono. Of course, but then the mono mode, what you get is a pan control, and you can pan it all the way to the left, and you can pan it all the way to the right. Pretty simple. You can even modulate this and make it move. Now the thing is that what's the point with this stereo, right? Because we are making this stereo with this. And yeah, you're not wrong. If I go all the way down right here, this control is the width. We're going to talk about this. And I bring the also imager and I play something, we can see that everything is mono. The repetitions are mono. So even though this is a stereo, we are not doing anything. So the width control will let you control the width, but only if you offset this. If I go to 20 milliseconds and I play something, now we know that it's a stereo when we can see it on imager. But then if I go down on the width, the main difference from stereo and mono is that we can control how wide the sound is. If I go all the way down on the width, it's just going to be straight mono. But if I go up, it's just going to be all the way, wide. So that's the main difference between stereo and mono. And then you have the ping pong. Still, you can control the width, and you have the ping pong to the right. So the difference with the left and the right, I'm going to do just one, is that when you play it, the ping pong first is going to be in the left, and then it's going to be in the right. Right? Left and right, center, left, right. And then on the other one, it's going to start on the right. Right? Center, right, left. So that's the main difference. Now, of course, if you add a little bit of feedback, you're going to get a little bit more ping pong. So up to here, we have the main common controls that we have on any other delay. The timing, the different modes, maybe, and the filtering, right? So this is pretty common, and the feedback in this case. Now then, this one gives us some other really cool things. For example, we have this section, which is going to be the blur. Now this one, it's like a reverb effect, let's say. So to hear this, we will need to go up on this control. Now the thing is that you have different modes, and they all sound different. If you say no blur, it doesn't matter what you do right here, nothing is going to happen. Now then you have different modes, and it's going to go from mild to wild, for example. So the soft is just going to give you this, reverb kind of a texture to the repetitions, of course. So if I go up on this one and I play something, this is very different. We got the repetitions, but this one is like going through a reverb. Right? So that's the main point of this control, of the blur. So behind the scenes, this is not a convolution reverb. It's an artificial reverberation. It's like an algorithmic reverb. So if you're more interested in how that works, check the Schroeder reverb. If you feel a little bit geeky, but still, what this will do, it will just add that, echo density to whatever we're doing. Soft, it means soft. So it's not super wild. Sounds more like a chorus, right? Now, the other ones are going to be a little bit different. This one says short with more modulation and spread. And we can hear it. Again, it still sounds like a chorus, but it's a little bit more aggressive than that. Let me go up on the mix. Right? And I'm going to disable I'm going to go just to stereo. Right. Now the other ones are really different. So this one is really long. So if you wanted to do some pads or something like this will be really useful. Right, so it sounds beautiful, and we are doing the default patch on this one. So of course you can select different values right here. You don't need to go all the way aggressive. Now the other ones again are going to be really long. You have the space, right? And the other one is the reverse. right? So you have different modes to do this, and you have a special feature with this. Now, let me go to maybe the space. Now, if I do something, and maybe I'm gonna do less cutting, so we hear a little bit more, and I play something, we can hear a lot of the blur. Sometimes that's cool. In this case, it's fine because the sound of this just sucks, the default patch. And the reverb and the blur and the delay is just making everything better. Now, the thing is that sometimes you want to play and the reverb is going to be in the way. So you get the ducking, and right here you can see an arrow going to the mix. So this means that whenever you play, this will detect that you're playing, in this case, and it's going to duck the mix control. It's going to do something like this, so you're going to get more of the dry and less of the wet. Now, as soon as you release the keys, this is going to go up. Right, so I can show you this, and it's going to be pretty obvious. If I play it, we can really hear when I'm playing. We still have the space sound, the blur sound in the background, and as soon as I release this, it's going to go up. I'm going to release it in 3, 2, 1. Right, so pretty cool. Now then you have another very important feature for this delay, and I think this is like the main vibe or nature of this delay, because we have other delays on Bitwig, and we can do pretty much everything with them, but we cannot do whatever we have right here, right out of the box. So the next one is going to be a freeze. So if I play something, and then I freeze it, it's going to freeze that sound. And I'm not playing anything, it's just, freezing. It's a very standard control that you get on some other delays. We didn't have it right here in Bitwig with the other ones, but now we get it. You just can freeze and unfreeze whatever sound. Right? It's very cool. Something that we didn't have so far in Bitwig. We get it right now with the Delay Plus. So that's it pretty much. This is a very standard delay, but then the addition of the blur and the freeze and the ducking, of course, it's just, it's a very useful type of delay. And sometimes I just, when I do something, I want to use it the whole time, because we have this, tiny little feature. So if I'm using a pad or I need something lush, I'm going to this delay 100%. Now, we have a couple more things that you need to be aware, and if I click on this one and I select the module, we have it right here with something that calls on changes, update rate, and what the F is this? Right, so let's talk about the on changes. So first I'm going to disable the space, and I'm going to go up on the reverb and no ducking, right, on the feedback, and if I play something, we get it, right? So it's just very simple. Now, right here, when you change the times, and I'm going to do it right here on this time, you can do it from here, but it's just a little bit more obvious when you do it from here. If I play something, maybe 1 second is too much. Let's go to 500. So when we make changes to the times, how the delay is going to react is going to give us that the detuning, like the repitching, or is going to try to adjust it in crossfade. So this is the option. So you have two options. The repitch is like the tape type of delay, that when we adjust the time, it's just going to give us that repitching. Right? So I'm going to stand again on 500, around 500, and then you have the option update rate. So what the F is this? So when we move, this is actually doing something, and it's trying to adjust to whatever timing that you're doing, and it's doing it at some speed, at some rate, and right now is 10 hertz. So if I play this, and I'm going to go all the way up to 1K. So if I do the same thing and I move it, this just sounds a little bit faster, because it's faster. It's trying to adjust and repitch at a faster rate. Now if I go all the way down, now it's going to be really slow. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to adjust it, and it's really slow. So with this one, we can create really cool effects, even when we freeze it. maybe add some space, why not? And then freeze it. And there you go, you have something cool. So I'm gonna go all the way down. So this is what you do with the update rate. Now what's the difference between the repitch and the fade? So the repitch is going to do that. You can hear the detuning, now the repitching. And the fade is going to attempt to crossfade. So this is what we'll do, and I'm gonna double click to be on 10. Let me go back to be on the default. It's going to try to crossfade the repetitions and adjust the times. So this will not give you that repitching type of sound. It's more like a glitchy type of sound. It's like glitch. I'm going to disable this right there and go to something. Notice that you don't get the repitch. But if I keep adjusting it, we get a glitchy type of sound. Not glitchy, but you know, it's kind of a smoother. Now what happens if I go faster? When I go fast, then we get the glitchy. If I go slower, see what happens. You get a smoother change. All right, so different rates on the both different modes are going to give you something else. So this one, the width affects feedback. What it means right now when we do something and we do stereo, right, and we do width, we have a wide sound, is going to be processed. That process happens after the feedback, right? After everything gets feedbacked. If we toggle this, is going to mean that first is going to be doing the width, and then the width, this white sound is going to go through the feedback. So this will affect how it sounds. If I turn it off, it sounds like that. When I turn it on, notice it sounds a little bit different. So it's a little bit smoother, like that. And it's just, a little bit more aggressive with this one. And even if you move and modulate this, or maybe do a little bit more, it's going to affect it. If I turn it off, it sounds very different. Notice that we get some kind of artifacts right there at the end. So then you have the crossfade stereo, which is going to be crossfading the left to the right and right to the left. And I feel like I don't need to explain this because we already have it on the other delays. That's why, it's just maybe right here, and it's an option that you can enable or just disable. But it's just the same thing we have right here in the other delays. It's pretty much same idea. Now let's talk about the other thing I want to talk about is the level control. So you have a clipping right here, a soft clipping, and I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to bring the test tone because the test tone is a wonderful tool, and I'm just going to put it right here. Maybe go down in gain. But we have a test tone, just a sine wave, right? Just a sine wave. And then I'm gonna go right here and bring an oscilloscope. And the oscilloscope is gonna be this one. And I'm gonna make it wider. Right, so maybe I'm gonna go up in gain so we can see right here, and I'm gonna go down on this one. So we have just a sine wave, right? And we are going through the delay with that sine wave. Alright, so let me just turn it off first. So when we go right there, it's going to say level control, and we have two options: the soft clip, the hard clip, and a compressor model. So it's going to saturate, clip it, hard clip it, or it's going to compress. Now, if I go to soft clip and we are feeding this test tone, whatever comes out of the delay, the feedback sound, not the original sound, is going to be processed by whatever we do right here. If we are doing soft clipping, we are doing saturation, but it's, clipping. We are going to clip it. Right now, the threshold is going to be at 0. And on this oscilloscope, what we are seeing is the feedback sound. We are all the way on the mix. So it's the test tone processed by the reverb, and then whatever comes out of this is going to be this. Now, if I go down on the amount right here, we are clipping the sound, whatever goes out of the delay in the case of the feedback. And we can see that right here is red, means that it's clipping. And as soon as we clip, notice that it's just, you're chopping, and we are modifying this because we are clipping. Now the other option is going to be a hard clip. And the same thing, but notice it's just going to be a little bit harder. And the other one is going to be a compressor. So it's just going to compress. Right? Notice that it's just not chopping the peaks just smoothing everything down. Right. So this is what, you get, and this is a very useful feature because you might want to do something, and I'm going to turn off the test tone and go back to this. You might be doing something like, I don't know, something like that. And since we are clipping, notice the sound. Sounds way different. And I'm doing all the way wet on the mix. And it's because we are just clipping. And notice that the saturation and distortion is crushing it. If I double click it, we just don't get it. Now I'm going really aggressive. You can go less. I just clip the sound. Same with the compressor. If you need to keep them in bay, you need to decide when to compress. And it's just gonna, keep it in check. Right. So now that you know all the controls and how everything works, you can use it, get cool sounds out of this. So hopefully you like all of this, you learned something new, and remember to like and subscribe. And if you have the money, you can buy me a coffee. You can go to links at the description, the description of this video, and you have links for Patreon, you have PayPal, and you have YouTube. Thanks. All right, so see you on the next one.